What if the moments that shape us most aren't the big milestones or defining achievements, but the ordinary moments we barely notice while they're happening? This week, I'm talking with Kurt Busch, leadership coach and co founder of Brimstone Coaching Group. Here, Kurt shares his nonlinear journey from manufacturing to ministry to leadership coaching and why he believes so much of leadership growth comes from learning to navigate uncertainty more intentionally. We talk about the pressure leaders feel to always appear strong and capable, especially at a time when rapid change, AI acceleration, and constant demands are making it harder than ever to feel grounded. We also explore the connection between self awareness and authentic leadership, including how moments of regret or emotional reaction can become opportunities for growth when we approach them with curiosity instead of shame. And we talk about burnout, hustle culture, and why rest, reflection, and joy are essential parts of sustainable leadership, not distractions from it. Finally, we explore the idea that most of life happens in ordinary moments and why these moments often offer the greatest opportunities for connection, growth, and meaningful impact. Thank you so much, as always, for listening. Welcome to the Impostor Syndrome Files. My name is Kim Menninger, and as an executive coach and former high-tech leader, my personal mission is to help professionals overcome imposter syndrome so that you can advance your career with confidence. Each week, I interview a new guest who brings a powerful perspective to this conversation, including personal stories, best practices, and new insights. The more we talk about this issue, the more we destigmatize imposter syndrome, recognize that we're not alone, and empower ourselves to access the tools and resources that can help us and those around us. Thank you so much for listening and for sharing with others you think would benefit from this conversation. Welcome, Kurt. It's so great to have you here. I'd love to start by asking you to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, hey Kim, thanks for having me. It's just really great to be with you to have this conversation. We just had a little conversation that made me really excited to see where our worlds overlap. But yeah, I'm a leadership coach. I work with leaders of all kinds. We like to say in our coaching practice, everybody leads something. So leaders of all kinds who feel like they are stuck or feel like they are leading in a way that's not authentically who they are. We help them kind of identify those and identify what authenticity means and to take some steps forward. I have a background. I spent about 10 years in manufacturing. I led some people. I did some HR work. Then I went to seminary late in life, which is a huge win. If anybody's wanting to like go to grad school late in life, I don't know how to apply more sarcasm, but it was a lot. So I went to seminary late in life. I pastored some churches for about 10 years and then launched my coaching practice in 2024.
That is an interesting arc.
Interesting is a word. Interesting is a word.
So do you feel like you've connected all of the dots now that you're doing leadership coaching? It's always interesting when you see people who take non-linear career paths, how the zigs and zags come together.
I love the question, Kim. I don't know if I'm just like getting older, but I feel like I'm less willing to say I've connected all the dots. Like I think I'm less willing at my age today to say like, do I even know what all the dots are? You know, like I can look back. Like I do really enjoy looking back and seeing the journey and the transformation, and like the steps that have gotten me here. I think, not to get all philosophical, I think there's part of me that's just like, man, I think I know the dots, but maybe I don't even know all the dots yet. Maybe I'm going to find more dots. I certainly think there's more dots ahead of me, but I think I find more dots looking back all the time.
I'm really glad you said that because I think in the context of the bigger conversation that we're having around authentic leadership and, just imposter syndrome and some of the anxiety that we carry around with us, there is this implicit or explicit pressure to have all of this figured out, right? And then, we feel oftentimes we're comparing ourselves to others and thinking, I'm behind or I should know this. And being able to say, hey, I don't know where my career is going, and that's okay.
Yeah. I have an acquaintance who was a physicist for years. He had a career change. He had this sort of like existential experience that led him down some faith-based pathways. And I sat around a campfire with this person a number of years ago, and he was explaining all of his research that he'd done on the nature of light and how light works and how the natural world kind of interacts with light. And I'm like soaking this up like I'm a child. Like he's this like wise uncle giving me all of this stuff, and I'm just soaking it up. And he ends the conversation by saying, "Look, if anybody tells," and I'll PG this a little bit. He said, "Look, if anybody tells you they know crap about crap, they don't know crap about crap." And I tell myself that like once a week, and it gets easier, I think, as I get older. But I think that it drives in me a curiosity of like, do I have it figured out? Do I need to have it figured out? Do I need to have all the answer? Yeah, I think that posture of there's so much to know, even in my own self and my own journey, that learning never stops, right?
Yes. And I think the humility that comes with what you just said, the learning mindset is so helpful at a time when we really can't know the answer
Yeah,
to this question. I mean, especially when you look at the acceleration of AI. I mean, we can't
yeah,
even predict
yeah,
what our jobs are going to look like, what our lives are going to look like.
yeah, yeah. That's right. That's right.
So, what are you seeing with some of the leaders that you're working with? What's feeling most sort of challenging, or where are they? Why are they coming to you? Let's say.
Yeah, that's a great question. Kim, when we started, so I have a partner, I have a business partner. He's one of my best friends. So I tend to say we and forget that I'm the only one on the screen. Uh, so when I say we, that's who I'm talking about. When we started our coaching practice, like every coach, we thought, like we can't wait to coach a bunch of CEOs, in like major corporations. But what we found is like we get a lot of nonprofit leaders and entrepreneurs, and I think what we see that's common in all of them is they all feel overwhelmed, and they all feel overloaded, and they all feel alone. Alone meaning they don't know where to go. We have some major corporations that headquarter within 10 minutes of us here where we are, and all of them have this sort of leadership development process that they've made and honed in over the years. But what we find is entrepreneurs and nonprofit leaders are just seeking some help. Customers for entrepreneurs are getting, I mean, that climate is getting crazier all the time. Expectations are just through the roof. And I think what we're seeing is small business owners are saying, we don't know how to manage ourselves when all those expectations are going through the roof, and they don't know where to turn. So then that leads to feeling alone, and it just compounds all the problems. The same is true in the nonprofit world. Nonprofit world is crazy right now with fundraising and division and polarization. And we find a similar thing where people just get caught up in the day to day trying to survive. And then leadership development or learning how to manage their own anxiety or learning how to manage their own imposter syndrome or whatever it is for them, or inner critic, those just get kind of pushed aside for the sake of fundraising or volunteer drives. That's really what we're seeing is our clients don't know where to turn. And we've kind of been a place to say, hey, let us help you a little bit. Our background is in some nonprofit work, and it matches up really well.
I love what you're saying too, because I think that there is a way in which a lot of leaders feel like I need to be this resource to the people that I'm leading, so I can't afford to crack, right? Like I do think that there is less support even within traditional corporate structures these days.
Yeah,
There, even those aren't always effective too, and there's this
yeah,
feeling of I should be able to do this, or I need to
yeah,
prove that I can do this, that I'm worthy of this role,
yeah,
and so any perceived like weakness feels like a character flaw instead of just it being like a, hey, times are tough and I just need some help.
yeah, 100%. I served under a lead pastor a number of years ago who would say, I can't let people see me bleed. And I was young. I hadn't done any self-awareness work, and I remember thinking that sounds really we I mean, I don't know if it's possible, number one, but it doesn't sound beneficial. Um, and it sounds exhausting. And I can look back now and I can see like that mentality of like I have to if I'm a leader, I have to have all the answers. I can't hit pause. I can't reflect. I can't show any sort of doubt or weakness because I might lose the people that are following me. I think that's actually getting worse today. I do think, I mean, I'd be curious what you would think about this. I love the leadership culture shift that's happening that kind of puts self-awareness at a higher priority level. But I also think that idea of like, I want my leader to know all the answers and I want whoever's leading me to just tell me what to do. I think that is maybe increasing in an alarming way. I don't know. What would you say about that?
Yeah, I agree with you. And, you know, it's interesting because we're at this moment where we really don't know. I mean, there are
Yeah.
some people who are further along in the journey around AI and technology that may have more practical skills, but we really don't know
Yeah.
what the future is going to look like. And as humans, that's just not a comfortable space to be. We want
Yeah.
predictability, we want stability, we do not like the unknown. And so I agree with you. I think that there is a way in which everybody is demanding more leadership and wants more certainty and direction, and that puts a strain on leaders themselves. And if they don't have the resources or the courage to ask for the resources, right? Like we're going to have a lot of people who are very burnt out,
Yeah.
who and I talk to people a lot, as I'm sure you do too, who they try to plow through it and they end up in mental health crises or in
Yeah.
physical health crises, and it's like they're going to go until their body says you're not going any further.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. 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 No, I would affirm that. I see much of that in my work as well.
Mm. So, is there anything in particular that you think is a good starting point for people who may be listening and thinking, I am that person, right?
Yes. Yeah. So here's a practical starting point for any sort of self-awareness work where maybe someone is just getting the feeling like I need to change something. I need to adjust how I kind of have a rhythm of leading. We like to invite people to kindly and gently, with no judgment, no evaluation of good or bad yet, to notice places where we feel regret or remorse. And those are big words. I maybe don't mean them as big as they come across. But I think about those places maybe when I leave a meeting and I think, man, I wish I would have said that, or I wish I wouldn't have said that. Or when I get an email that's difficult when I close my laptop instead of being curious about it, right? Uh, we invite people to just notice those moments and ask some pretty simple questions like, what happened? What did I do? What emotions were I feeling? And maybe what would I want to do differently next time? And I say gently because I think our hope is that we would invite people to notice them as facts, not as moments of shame or moments to be corrected just yet. But I think that is the most practical, like beginning step of self-awareness work that I can offer.
I love that. And I often think about well, at least the way that I interpret things like regret and remorse is they are useful to the extent that they inform future behavior, right?
Yes.
They're not a place to get stuck and to, like you talked about the inner critic and to just beat ourselves up. Like there's nothing productive that comes from that. However, if we can take intentional time to reflect on it and say, where does this maybe is this disconnected from my values and the way I want to show up in the world,
Yeah.
right? Like, what
Yeah.
will I do differently to prepare for a situation like this? Or how will I try to respond differently? Then
Yeah.
that's where growth comes from.
Yeah, Kim, this is where like we're speaking the same language, and I love it. I love it. I like to use the word I like to use the words like we want those moments of regret and remorse to lead to empowered action. Meaning like it drives me to take agency and ownership for something different, versus I think what's normal in a lot of people, especially with imposter syndrome, is it leads to disempowering action, which looks a lot like shame and hiding and avoiding. And I can't let someone see that I made that mistake. I can't let someone see that I lashed out and that I don't like it because I don't know how to fix it and it just causes me to hide. So, yeah, Kim, I snaps. Can I snap? I love that. I love that.
Yes, thank you. And, I'm thinking about this holistically too, because there is so much of our life these days is reactive. And,
Mm,
we're just so busy and we're trying to get through the day. And there are probably, if we're honest with ourselves, a number of situations that happen, to
yeah,
varying degrees that we walk away from with some degree of regret, or I
yeah,
wish I handled that differently.
yeah,
And I think that as a parent too,
yeah,
not just
yeah,
in my professional life, but with
yeah,
my husband, or
yeah,
just different types of personal interactions. And I think that what you're inviting us to think about too is just how do we slow down long enough to be reflective and not
yeah,
just constantly doing and
yeah.
reacting.
Yeah, can I bounce something off you, Kim? Can I get your reaction to or your response? I don't want a reaction. So I want you to push on this. I'm open to you pushing on this. Here's something I've been thinking about lately. Um, there's an author that I like. She writes about this idea that most of our lives are ordinary, meaning that we have these big moments, but most of our lives are putting laundry away, or making a peanut butter sandwich, or putting the bed sheets back on. Like most of our lives are ordinary. And you brought it, not that parenting is ordinary, but those are kind of ordinary moments. I went through a drive-through to get coffee this morning, and I didn't order the thing that I wanted exactly because I was like nervous to do it wrong. Like this is one of those ordinary moments where like if our lives are ordinary, then those ordinary moments are also places of like biggest growth opportunity and biggest impact. That if we can notice those places, uh, you know, parenting I think is a great example. If we can notice them and think like, okay, this might not be huge multi-million dollar contract at work, but it is going to be an impactful place if I can notice and pause and reflect, even in the super ordinary mundane moments, that can still even lead to transformation that can impact the multi-million dollar contracts or whatever that is. I don't know. What do you want to say about that?
I love that because I think there is a way, and maybe I am just this is resonating with me personally because I'm in a constant battle with myself over whether or not my life is as meaningful as it should
Mm,
be,
yeah,
and the kind of impact I want to have on the world. And there are natural limitations that
yeah,
come with the ordinary things that we have to do in the
yeah,
world. So this goes back in my mind to what you said at the beginning, which is everybody leads something. And I
yeah,
think that if we think about this as who do I want to be in the world, right? Like,
yeah,
how do I want to be of service, or how do I want to treat other people?
yeah,
It's those ordinary moments that give us the greatest opportunity to do that. And I think that
yeah,
that creates a more purposeful experience when we're not going out and doing multi-million dollar contracts. Because you're right. Like if that's what we're waiting for in order to sort of measure the value of our lives, or the progress that we're making, we're always going to feel like we're falling short.
yeah. I think so. And maybe I'm also just projecting my own stage of life in that too. But I mean, I do. Yeah, I've been thinking about this more and more. I, can I ask you a question? I
Yeah,
know, like, I don't
please.
mean to like come on and hijack your
No,
show, but
no, no. It's a conversation.
um, you talked about the impact you want to have. I mean, you and I swim in waters where like we're going to talk about impact, but I don't hear a lot of people name, hey, I want to have a certain impact. What what is the impact? Would you say more about that?
Sure. I think the part of this may be ego driven and part of it is service driven. And so when I was a kid, I wanted to be famous.
Okay. Okay.
Wanted to be an actress,
Yeah.
not because I liked acting, but because I wanted to be like a celebrity. And
Yeah.
I thought a lot about what's at the root of that. And I think that I could spend hours telling you my backstory and where
Yep.
that probably comes from, but I really want to feel at the end of my life like I've maximized this journey and people are important to me and I want to connect with as many people as possible. I want to feel like I've done something that matters.
Yeah.
And so, I can't always be doing these big scale types of things. And so for me, having a meaningful conversation with one person who's having a tough time and walks away feeling better is,
Yeah.
like you were talking about, one of those quote unquote maybe more ordinary moments,
Yeah.
but it's something that makes me feel like I'm being the human that I want to be during this
Yeah.
very short time that I'm here.
Yeah. I love that, Kim. Thanks for saying it.
Thanks
I,
for asking.
yeah, just gets me all jazzed up.
And how do you manage through this? Because I'm curious as a coach, we spend a lot of time, we're almost similar to what we were talking about of the leaders who want to be strong and want to
Yeah.
make sure that we're being that support resource for others. Like,
Yeah.
how do you navigate being the person whose job is to support other people in a world that feels so destabilizing?
Yeah, yeah, it sure does, doesn't it? I mean, there's some days like, what are we in a movie? There's just a lot of days where I don't know what's going on. Um, yeah, I mean, I think this maybe this is a longer answer than this needed to be, but I think this is where my pastoral experience had like set me up for this. I had some really good mentors that helped me think about things like counter systems. So if I know that my work as a coach, like I'm given the opportunity every day to work with people, and I have to build in counter systems that keep me from taking on the things that I hear and keeping me from bearing loads that aren't mine to bear. I think about counter systems of rest and rhythm and reflection. I think about counter systems that allow me to find a way to like feel joy. Um, I'm not a therapist, obviously. Like I'm not a licensed therapist or counselor, but there's still, I mean, this, there's still heavy things that come up. And there's still people in situations that I don't love. Like I want my clients to be transformed and whole today. So there is an opportunity to carry loads that aren't mine, but I had some really good people help me name clearly like what do I need, and it's things like rest and reflection, and like I do some things that bring me joy. I try to carve out intentional rest. I think the sort of faith-based world would say Sabbath, but I think about it as a time where like I can engage my whole self. I work primarily with my mind and like this. So on a typical point in my week, I'll find a way to work with my hands. I'll like, I don't know, mow my yard, trim my yard, like that kind of stuff where I'm like engaging the rest of my body. So I try to do that. Also, I have a coach myself, and I have a really good counselor. So I think those things, the counter systems, and then other like real professionals that are doing the work, and then helping me do my own work. I think those are key. Do you know the name Ruth Haley Barton, Kim?
No, but I'm going to write it down.
Ruth Haley Barton, she's an author and a leadership author. She's definitely in like the church leadership world, but there's a lot I think that translates. I'm going to paraphrase her. She would say if a leader is not investing in their own growth, they are disqualified from leading.
Mm.
And I believe that for me. I believe it for all leaders, but I think then I first have to like believe it for me. Like I have to prescribe to that myself. So that's really the foundation, is to say if I'm going to ask people to invest in their own growth, I have to do the same.
I think that's a really powerful insight that you just shared and it's very relevant to a conversation I was having earlier today too, where we were talking about the importance of, self-care essentially,
Yeah.
right? Really
Yeah.
prioritizing these other needs that we have. And I think in in a world where we overvalue doing and being quote unquote
Yeah.
productive.
Yeah.
The way in which, if we talk about, regret and remorse, where any kind of downtime almost feels shameful. It's like there's something I should be doing right now that's more productive
Yes.
than this. And I think like the challenge, and I say this as much for myself as I do for everybody listening, is how do we not just look at that as like, oh, I'm going to cheat right now and take some time to myself, but actually, no, that's just as important, if
Yeah.
not more important, than
Yeah.
all of the other things that we're doing too.
Yeah. I think you're right. I mean, this is an alarming trend as well, right? And I think this in like hustle culture that we're kind of in has the potential to do this a lot. I have a client who is currently on a sabbatical, and just for the record, like I faith-based organization or not, I'm a huge fan. And the organization that this client works for has said, "Hey, you've been here for 15 years. You're like headed towards burnout." The organization is investing in this person's sabbatical for 3 months to say, we understand like this is a big investment to pay a salary for 3 months and get no return, but it costs a lot more to have this person burn out on the job or, maybe have like a crisis. You said mental health crisis. I mean, I don't know. I've seen leaders like put stuff on social media that damages the organization because they're burnt out. So I think there is a temptation to say rest and getting away and unplugging and reflecting is counterproductive. Sure, short term, yes. Long term, I can't be convinced that it's not better.
I completely agree with you. And I just don't think that we were designed
Yeah,
operate at that pace that frequently.
yeah,
And so to just, find our own versions of whatever it is that
yeah,
gives us that space to
yeah,
rest and recover and just and reflect.
yeah, yeah. How do you do it, Kim?
I'm a work in progress. Well,
Same, same.
yeah, I do like to read a lot. Like to me, that's my and not educational reading. Like
Yeah.
I like fiction reading, and to me,
Hmm.
that's just a way of relaxing. I also like to travel.
Okay.
As a family, we travel quite a bit, and it's one of my values for myself, but also I want to teach my kids that there are lots of different ways of living and our way isn't the only way. And so,
Yeah.
that to me is a great way of stepping outside of the day-to-day, staying connected to the larger whole
Yeah.
and experiencing new things. And so that's a big part of this stage of my life. My kids are at an age now where they're pretty portable. And so
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
and it also gives me the inspiration because I know there's something to look forward to. So even if things are really stressful now, I'm like, oh, we've got that trip coming up, or
Yeah.
we've got this
Yeah.
rest that's coming.
Yeah. Okay, fellow fiction reader here. What's the last fiction book you read, or
Ooh,
what, or currently reading? Maybe I shouldn't assume that you're not currently reading.
I am currently reading and now I'm just wishing I had it in front of me because so I absolutely loved the book, The Last Thing He Told Me from Laura
Okay.
Dave.
Okay.
I think it's an Apple series now. I haven't watched it. And the sequel to that, and I can't remember the name of it, but I'm reading the sequel to that right now.
Yeah.
It's just as amazing as the first one. So, for
Yeah. Sweet.
anybody who
Sweet.
knows that book, yeah. How about
Sweet.
you?
I'm kind of on a Stephen King bender right now.
Ooh.
Um, I grew up in a very like conservative home in town, and I like Stephen King was kind of like the bad guy. Um, And like he's so good. He's so good. I think I'm like 7 or 8 deep right now. I just finished one. I actually just started a Michael Crichton book too, um, called Micro. That one's really good. I think Michael Crichton, Jurassic Park might be my favorite fiction book ever.
Oh.
It's very good. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Michael Crichton right now, but I'm also like I'm gonna go right back to Stephen King just as soon as I can.
Well, and I love that you say that proudly, right? Because I
Yeah,
think that there are times when I think to myself, I should be reading to learn. I should be reading more. I talk to a lot of people who are always recommending different books to me.
yeah,
I'm like, oh, my bookshelf is overflowing. But at the end of the day, I just want something that's fun and
Yeah.
relatively mindless. And
Yeah.
I think what we're talking about is giving ourselves permission to
Yeah.
not always be on, to not always feel like we're solving the world's
Yeah.
problems,
Uh,
right?
Have you, can I give an analogy?
Yes,
I actually don't know the difference between an analogy and a metaphor. So I don't know, actually know which one this is, Kim, but
I don't either.
oh, perfect. This is a safe space.
Yes.
Um, so have you ever tried to hold a beach ball underwater?
Yes, I actually have.
So you can do that for a little bit, but like your hand is constantly trying to adjust to keep because that ball wants to come out, right? So if you tried to hold that beach ball further and further, it'd be harder and harder to hold it down. I think some of these things like rest and needing some joy and some fun, I think those things are like a beach ball. And when we get in this mindset where we're like grind and go and go and we can't slow down, that beach ball of needing joy, needing rest, those needs are going to be met, and that beach ball is going to come out of the water. Like we, beach balls always find the way out because they float. Uh, and I think for me, the question is, am I going to allow that beach ball to come out like gently, or am I going to wait until I can't hold it under there anymore? And then it comes out and it splashes everybody in the pool, right? There's water everywhere. And I think that's kind of how I think about like, man, I can slow down and read Michael Crichton and Stephen King. Yeah, and it's going to make me feel like maybe I'm not getting as much done. Sure. But at some point, I'm going to have to reckon with the need for rest and the need for joy and the need for reflection.
I love that analogy or metaphor, whichever it is. But
Whatever it is.
I love that. And it also makes me just think again more holistically about who we are as humans. And
Yeah.
if that beach ball can't stay down, there's a reason for that. And I
Yeah.
think that that is very much a function of the narratives that we hold, and whether that is something that's ingrained in us from messaging that we get in different from different people, or it's pressure that we put on ourselves. I think that a lot of what we're talking about is resetting our relationship with
Yeah.
other parts of our lives,
Yeah.
the work.
So good, Kim. So
Mhm.
good.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, Kurt. I could seriously talk to you.
I know, same.
Such a great philosophical conversation. And I'm so glad that you've asked me questions too. I always say I like this to be conversational. I feel like this
Yeah.
really was.
Yeah.
Uh, for people listening who want more of you and want to learn about your work, where can they find you?
Yeah, we have a website. Our coaching practice is called Brimstone Coaching Group, and our website is brimstonecoachinggroup.com. And maybe just let me say real quick, brimstone has some weird connotations for some people, especially in the sort of Midwest faith-based world. We believe in transformation. Butterflies, as you know, are transformed creatures. They know a thing or two about transformation. The brimstone butterfly is the longest living butterfly in the whole world. It's native to Africa, but it's the longest living creature in a transformed state. So we wanted to capture our desire for transformation in the name, not any sort of like hellfire and brimstone, nothing like that. Uh, so we always like, maybe we should have consulted a marketing person before we named that. Uh, but anyway, brimstonecoachinggroup.com. Yeah, people can get a glimpse of who we are and why we do what we do, and just get a little better understanding of the work we do.
Wonderful. I'll make sure that the link is in the show notes. And I love that too. I had no idea. I've never heard of a brimstone butterfly. So that's great too. Thank you so much, Kurt, for being here and for the work that you're doing. It's so important.
Yeah, thanks, Kim. This was great.
Thanks so much for listening to the Impostor Syndrome Files. If you would like to continue this conversation in a safe and trusted space, I would love for you to join my virtual discussion group every Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern. For the past several years, the group has been limited to women, but it is now open, regardless of gender, to anyone who is interested in exploring and troubleshooting common workplace challenges, building better awareness of ourselves and others, and becoming more inclusive allies at work. Check out the show notes for more info on how to find us, and please join us next week for another episode of the Impostor Syndrome Files.